Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, whether you're watching on Rumble or on YouTube or listening via one of the many podcasting platforms. I'll discuss one or two issues that are top of mind in terms of what's happening on the planet, and then discuss how the principles of the self-awareness and passion quest can be used by you to handle these issues elegantly and effectively in the context of your life. And remember my definition of passion, and I am one of the world's experts on this matter. Passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart that enables you to produce extraordinary results, way above ordinary. So tap into your passion. And if you are not living passionately, think about doing something different. The show notes give you links to my background and the foundational principles of this show, and also give you links to our websites, kovess.com and charleskovess.com. And at charleskovess.com, you can find the details of the Self-Awareness and Passion Quest, which is a one-on-one coaching program for business owners and senior executives. Please subscribe to this show. It won't cost you anything except the risk of greater passion, greater self-awareness, and greater enjoyment of your life. So come on, get on board. So let's go with this week's one big impact issue, which is the I'm offended game that's being played. This game has increased in its participation hugely over the last 10 years. People walking around saying, I'm offended by this, I'm offended by that. I say it's a devious attack on your freedoms, on your freedom of speech. I urge you to be ready to have a good response in a range of different situations for when somebody says to you, I'm offended by what you just said. I'm going to share with you 9 possible responses and give you a bit of an explanation of when you might use these responses. Have them ready and don't be taken by surprise. The attack on free speech is a classic communist dictator strategy. It is the beginning of the end of your freedoms. It starts with an attack on freedom of speech, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's time for us to push back, to be able to speak our minds freely, express our opinions freely. So here are the 9 possible responses, and I must say, being ready for them, I almost wish people would come to me and say, I'm offended. So these 9 responses are in no particular order. They're for different situations, different responses for different environments. And when your response is by way of a question to the person who says, I'm offended, don't say anything further. Let the so-called offendee attempt to wriggle out of the situation. So here's the first one, a one-word response. And? Now you just think what that means for the person. It says, I'm offended by what you just said, and you go, and you shut up. The allegedly offended person, and you don't know whether they're offended or not, and I'll cover that in subsequent responses, and you watch their mouths go like a fish. You watch. The second one, and this one you could use in a dinner party setting where you don't want to be too aggressive, because there's the super aggressive, there's the less aggressive, there's the kind and loving response. The second one, that's interesting. How do you mean? Now what you're doing there is you're requiring the person to articulate how they're offended, what their offence comprises. They won't be able to do that. They should, well, you shouldn't say this, or, it's quite interesting. How do you mean? And you shut up. The third one is more a comment and really dismisses the offence. It goes like this: life must be very hard for you. And you don't explain it further. You just go dismiss. Fourth one: I'm offended that you say you're offended by what I said. Now we're both offended. What do you suggest we do about this? And you can see this is a game of tennis. They've hit you with a serve of I'm offended. You've hit them back with a serve of I'm offended too. It's a beautiful spot of détente. Then they'll try to play the game. Well, I'm more offended than you. You're not offended. You can see where this goes. Number 5. Your offence or being offended is of no concern to me. And that's slightly more aggressive than other answers. But you basically say, I'm not concerned about you being offended. Why should you be? Think about it. Why should you be offended that someone is offended? Sorry, why should you be interested? Why should you be concerned that somebody's offended, allegedly? The 6th response, this is even more aggressive. I don't give a shit. Imagine that. I'm offended. I don't give a shit. I don't think it requires further explanation by me. You pick the situation. Number 7. You respond to the I'm offended by. What precisely do you mean by I'm offended? You watch their mouths go like that fish again. What do you precisely mean by offended? They won't be able to answer. Response number 8. Your being offended is entirely created in your mind. How do you do that? It's somewhat playful, but also it requires them to deal with it. You've asked them a question. It's now up to them to answer that. How do you do that? And lastly, number 9. Person says to you, I'm offended. You say, I don't believe you. Prove it. And shut up. You watch how difficult it is, because you see these people who say they're offended, they're used to immediately the person to whom they've said it apologising. And my message to you is never apologise. You have no reason to apologise. You are allowed to express your views. It's a bad strategy to apologise. These people walk around hoity-toity, I'm offended. Well, let me read the quote, the famous quote by Stephen Fry, the UK commentator, entertainer, TV star, and he said this in 2005. It's now very common to hear people say, I'm rather offended by that, as if that gives them certain rights. It's actually nothing more than a whine or a whinge. Quote, I find that offensive, end quote. It has no meaning. It has no purpose. It has no reason to be respected as a phrase, he says. Quote, I'm offended by that, quote. Well, he says, so fucking what? Great question. It's a tool used to shut people up. And if you think back, if you look at those 9 answers, and if you want me to email them to you, I'm happy to do that. You look at those 9 answers, you're really forcing the person to prove they're offended. Almost always, they're not offended at all. They just have a different point of view to you. And regular viewers and listeners would know that I love limericks. I've just come back from Ireland. Well, I wrote a limerick. It goes like this about this whole issue of being offended. There once was a chap quick to cry, I'm offended at each word gone by. With a frown and a shout, He'd shut freedom right out, making reason and laughter run dry. And on that point, remember Ricky Gervais, the fantastic comedian, where he stands up in front of a big audience and he says, you'll probably be offended by this. He says, I don't give a shit. And it's a great basic principle to have that this whole offence game, we have to stomp on it, in my opinion. I urge you, if you don't like it, then don't put up with it. And if you're putting up with it to be kind, you're making a huge rod for your back and you're colluding in the attack on your freedom of speech. So, we need the truth spoken. We need the truth spoken about a whole bunch of issues, including the transgender movement, including the woke movement, including the politically correct movement. If we're not willing to speak what is true for us, we collude with the shutting down of useful debate by people having diametrically opposed points of view. And this then leads to the imposition, as it has in Australia with Section 18C of a particular piece of legislation. Oh, don't you dare say anything that might offend someone's feelings. We have to push back against such legislation. In the UK, it's worse than it is in Australia. If we don't push back, it'll continue to get worse. And remember, all of these laws give bureaucrats more and more work to do. And remember, the number one role of bureaucrats is to keep their job and to expand their influence in society. I want to minimize the role of bureaucrats. I want to minimize legislation that impacts on our freedom. I'm all about free enterprise and living life on your terms. That's what this show is about. Some laws are good, too many laws are bad, and it's an ongoing debate. And if we don't speak truthfully because we're scared to speak the truth, then more and more laws will come to take away your freedoms. Now, one health tip before I finish this program. In the news this week, in America particularly, there's talk about stopping chemtrails, stopping the seeding of the sky with toxic metals and chemicals. And what that really brings home is that we are in an environment with electromagnetic radiation, of chemtrails, of chemicals in the food that we eat. Our bodies are being significantly bombarded, and I want to urge you to remember to take vitamin C. Vitamin C is a crucial element in my health. It helps your immune system. It helps your body deal with foreign organisms. It helps your body's functioning to deal with the poisons, the toxicity that comes into your body. And I'm surprised how many people I speak to who do not know the benefits of taking vitamin C. So do your research, go and talk to your holistic integrative health practitioner and understand that with these increasing levels of toxic attacks on our body, we need to take preventative action. And I learned many years ago that the number one cause of most disease is constipation. Constipation. It's often said, you are what you eat. Well, in fact, the truth is, the more accurate truth is that you are what you don't eliminate. And large numbers of people suffer from constipation. They don't eliminate enough. If you have enough vitamin C, it moves your bowels beautifully. So vitamin C, but also the number one cause of constipation is dehydration. So you have to increase your level of liquids, just like I'm doing right now. Of course, I've said to you before that drinking coffee is a diuretic and it reduces the liquid in your system. But anyway, I love coffee, but I also drink a lot of water. The downside of that is that I have to go to the toilet. The upside of that is that I don't sit at my desk too long. So there's benefits and drawbacks to everything that you do. Drink a lot of water, take a lot of vitamin C, take great care for what you put into your body, because I want you to be sticking around for a long time like I plan to do. So I hope today's show makes a beneficial difference to your life, a life that I believe is meant to be all that you are capable of making of it. And to that end, I have also been on a podcast this week with Adam Gibson. It was a 1-hour podcast on the self-awareness and passion quest. I articulate my views on why leadership in Australia is so poor. It's linked to the low levels of passion of people working in Australia. Leaders have to lift their game. Have a listen to that podcast. We'll put the link into the show notes, and I've had great feedback from the matters that I discussed with Adam Gibson in that podcast. If you're new to the show, check the links for our foundational principles and my 2 websites. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until our next show, may your week be full of health-giving and energy-giving passion, learning, fun, fulfillment, challenge, and ever-increasing self-awareness. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye for now.